Day 1. The smoke started around 3 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. Not the kind I was trained to spot. No plume rising clean from a ridgeline, no orange glow eating through timber. This smoke came from the valley, from Cascade Springs, the little tourist town 12 miles northwest where Linda and I used to drive for groceries every other Thursday. Black and greasy, rolling up in columns that bent sideways in the wind. I had the binoculars on it before my brain caught up. Fire lookout for 37 years, you develop instincts. But through the lenses, I saw cars piled up on Route 42. Saw people running between buildings, saw something I couldn't make sense of at first. Looked like a brawl outside the Safeway. Lots of people on the ground, lots of movement that didn't seem right. Rufus whined at my feet. He's a mutt. A part golden retriever, part something else. 12 years old with a gray muzzle and bad hips. He'd been Linda's dog, really. Slept on her side of the bed for 10 years before the cancer took her last April. Now he's all I got, and he was staring at me with those brown eyes like he knew something was wrong before I did. I reached for the radio. Standard procedure, report unusual activity, coordinate with the ranger station. The radio's solar-powered, sits charging in the south window most days. Battery backup good for 72 hours of continuous use if needed. I built the whole setup myself after a lightning strike fried the original equipment back in 2008. Added weatherproofing, signal boosters, the works. When you're 14 miles from the nearest paved road and 6,300 feet up a mountain, you learn to maintain your lifelines. Cascade Station, this is Pinnacle Lookout. You copy? Static. I adjusted the frequency, tried again. Nothing but white noise with something underneath it. Maybe voices, maybe just interference. I switched to the emergency channel. This is Pinnacle Lookout, calling any station. Anyone reading? More static, then a burst of sound. A woman's voice, high and panicked. Coming through the windows. Oh God, they're coming through the... Cut off. Just dead air after that. I tried the ranger station again. Tried the county sheriff. Tried the state police frequency I'm not technically supposed to monitor. Got pieces of transmissions, fragments of something bad happening in multiple places at once. Heard someone screaming about bites. Heard gunfire through an open mic before it went silent. Rufus pawed at the door. He needed to go out, do his business, same as every afternoon. I looked at him, looked back at the binoculars, picked them up again. The movement in Cascade Springs had spread. What I thought was a brawl was bigger now, spilling out across the main street. I could see people. I thought they were people, moving in ways that weren't natural. Jerky, fast but wrong. And there were others running from them, falling, not getting back up. Then getting back up but moving like the others. Wrong. I'm 60 years old. Lived alone in this tower for 8 months since Linda died. Before that, lived with her for 41 years. Saw 3 wars on television. Watched the towers fall on 9/11. Lived through recessions and disasters and every kind of bad news. You develop a certain perspective, a certain ability to process information without losing your head. But standing there with the binoculars showing me things I couldn't quite believe, my hand started shaking. Put the binoculars down. Let Rufus out. He peed on the same rock he always does, 20 feet from the tower base, then limped back inside. His arthritis gets worse every month. Linda used to give him these pills from the vet. But we ran out in June, and I haven't made the trip down to get more. Haven't made any trips down. The truck's parked at the trailhead 7 miles downslope, and at my age, with my knees, that hike is hard enough when you're not carrying supplies back up. The tower's small, 20 by 20 feet, all of it one room except for the tiny bathroom that's really just a composting toilet in a closet. I got a cot against the north wall, a propane stove with 2 burners, a table I built from scrap lumber, shelves holding my supplies. The windows wrap all the way around, giving me 360 views of the Cascade Range. Or they did, before the smoke started blocking the valleys. My supply situation at that moment: maybe 40 pounds of dried food, mostly rice and beans, some freeze-dried camping meals left over from better days, 5-gallon water jug 3/4 full, 2 cases of canned soup, a few cans of dog food for Rufus, though he can eat what I eat if he has to, propane tank for the stove about half depleted, the rain collection system I installed after Linda died because hauling water up from the spring was getting too hard for my back, 5 barrels connected to the roof gutters, running through a 3-stage filter I mail-ordered from a survivalist catalog. It gives me clean water when it rains, which is often enough up here. I'm not a prepper, never was. But when you live this isolated, you learn to keep extra. Learn to plan ahead. Learn that the distance between you and help is measured in days, not minutes. The radio crackled. A man's voice, calm, professional. Repeating, "This is Emergency Broadcast System Alert 27 Alpha. A state of emergency has been declared for all western counties. Citizens are advised to remain indoors, lock all doors and windows, avoid contact with..." Static swallowed the rest. I sat down heavy on my cot. Rufus put his head on my knee. Outside, the sun was starting to dip toward the ridgeline, painting everything gold and red like it does every evening up here. Beautiful. Always beautiful, even when the world's ending. Tried the radio through the evening. Unluck's got pieces of broadcasts. Words like outbreak and infection and avoid bites. Instructions to head to evacuation centers that kept changing. Lists of closed highways. A preacher somewhere shouting about revelations and the end times before his signal died. Around 9 p.m., the power went out in Cascade Springs. I could see it through the binoculars. The town lights just vanishing, section by section, like someone was erasing them. The darkness spread to the smaller communities, to the isolated houses dotting the foothills. By midnight, there wasn't a single electric light visible, except for a few fires burning in the valley. Big fires. Structure fires. Nobody fighting them. I didn't sleep that night. Kept watch with the binoculars, kept cycling through radio frequencies, kept trying to make sense of incomplete information. Rufus slept curled against my leg, twitching and whimpering in his dreams. When dawn came, the smoke was thicker. Day 2 counted my supplies properly at first light. Wrote it all down in the logbook I'm supposed to use for fire reports. Seemed important to know exactly what I was working with. Food, dried goods, 37 pounds. Rice, beans, oats, flour. Food, canned, 18 cans soup, 12 cans vegetables, 6 cans tuna, 4 cans dog food, misc, 2 jars peanut butter, 1 jar honey, salt, pepper, oil, coffee, maybe 3 weeks' worth. Water, 3.75 gallons in jug, rain barrels currently at 60%, roughly 150 gallons stored. Propane, 1 tank at 50%, 1 full backup tank medical. Basic first aid kit, my blood pressure pills, 30 days left. Linda's leftover pain meds, morphine, 8 pills. Tools, axe, hammer, handsaw, miscellaneous hand tools, a 100 feet of rope. Weapons, hunting rifle, .30-06 23 rounds. My dad's old .38 revolver, 15 rounds. Other, batteries, flashlights, matches, candles, deck of cards, Linda's books. The rifle hangs on hooks above the door. Haven't fired it in 3 years, not since I shot a deer that was eating bark off the trees near the spring. Linda made me butcher it, made me smoke the meat. Said I needed to know how in case. In case of what, I'd asked. She just gave me that look she had, the one that meant she was thinking about things she wouldn't say out loud. She'd been sick for 2 years before the end. Breast cancer that spread to her bones, her lungs, everywhere. Refused to die in a hospital. Wanted to stay up here where we'd spent our best years. I took leave from the lookout, stayed with her around the clock those last weeks. Held her hand while she got smaller and quieter and farther away. She died on a Thursday morning in April, with the windows open and the spring wind blowing through, carrying the smell of pine sap and snow melt. I spread her ashes from the tower top like she asked, kept her wedding ring on a chain around my neck. Couldn't make myself go back down to the world after that. Requested to stay on through the summer, through the fall, indefinitely. The Park Service was fine with it. Hard to find people who want to live alone on a mountain at 60 years old. My pension covers what I need. Except now the pension doesn't matter, does it? Rufus needed feeding. I opened one of his cans, spooned half into his bowl, watched him eat slow because of his bad teeth. He's got maybe 6 good months left, even in a normal world. His hips lock up when it's cold. He can't climb stairs anymore. Sometimes he forgets where he is and just stands there looking confused. But he's warm and he's alive, and he knew Linda's smell, and that makes him precious. The radio gave me more pieces through the morning. National Guard deployed. Borders closed. Something about the infection spreading through bites, through blood. People changing fast, going crazy, attacking. Military setting up quarantine zones. Then a long stretch of nothing but static before a new voice came through. A woman reading from a script about staying calm and following official instructions and waiting for help. Help. I looked out at the smoke columns rising from a dozen different places in the valley. Looked at the empty highway snaking through the hills, not a single car moving on it. Help wasn't coming up here. Help had its own problems. Through the binoculars, I watched Cascade Springs. Watched movement in the streets, lots of movement. But it didn't look like rescue operations or organized evacuations. It looked like chaos. Bodies in the intersections. Things that might have been people running in packs. A police car burning in front of the post office. Around noon, I heard engines. Distant at first, then closer. I grabbed the binoculars and scanned until I found them. A convoy of civilian vehicles tearing up the fire access road that winds through the national forest about 8 miles east. They were moving fast, too fast for that road. Even from this distance, I could see they were packed with people and belongings. And they made it maybe 3 miles before the lead truck went off the road trying to navigate a switchback. It just rolled right over the edge, tumbled down the slope. The vehicles behind stopped. People got out. I could see them arguing, pointing, pulling things from the wrecked truck. Then I saw what made them run. More people, or things that used to be people. Coming up the road behind the convoy, moving in that wrong way I'd seen in town. Fast, too fast, the survivors scattered into the forest. Some made it, some didn't. Through the binoculars, I watched things I can't unwatch. Things that made me lower the lenses and step back from the window and breathe through my mouth until my heart stopped hammering. Rufus whined. He could sense my distress, kept nosing at my hand. I sat on the floor with him, scratched behind his ears, and told him it was okay, even though it wasn't. Even though nothing was okay. Day 3. The rain came before dawn, hard and cold. I listened to it hammer the metal roof while I lay on the cot staring at darkness. The rain barrels would fill at least. The water situation would improve. Small blessings. Radio chatter was getting stranger, more desperate. I picked up what sounded like a ham radio operator in Idaho Falls describing things trying to break into a hospital. Picked up someone else claiming the infection was airborne, though someone else shouted them down saying that was misinformation. It was only through contact with infected bodily fluids. Picked up a survivalist group coordinating movements to some compound in Montana. Picked up silence on all the official frequencies. I made oatmeal for breakfast. 1 cup dried oats, water, some pinch of salt, cooked on the propane stove. Split it with Rufus. He ate his portion from Linda's old bowl, the blue ceramic one she picked out at a craft fair in Portland 20 years ago. I'd packed it up in a box after she died, couldn't stand to look at it. But now I was using it because what else was I going to do? Let the dog eat off the floor? The smoke was worse. I couldn't see Cascade Springs anymore, couldn't see most of the valley. Just gray haze lit orange in places where fires burned unchecked. The air quality was getting bad, even up here. I could smell it when I stepped outside to check the rain barrels, chemical smoke mixed with wood smoke, bitter on the back of my throat. All 5 barrels were overflowing. The automatic filtration system was working, 3-stage setup pulling out sediment and bacteria and most chemicals. And I'd tested it obsessively after installation, sent samples to a lab, made Linda drink it first before I trusted it myself. She'd laughed at me, said I was paranoid. But she drank it and didn't get sick, and now that system might keep me alive. I hauled buckets into the tower, filled the 5-gallon jug, filled every container I had. Basic survival math. Human needs about 1 gallon per day for drinking and minimal hygiene. Rufus needs maybe 1 quart. That's 1.25 gallons daily burn rate. I had maybe 200 gallons stored now between the barrels and containers. Call it 5 months of water if the rain stopped tomorrow. But rain was common in this range, especially heading into fall. I could make it stretch. Food was the problem. 5 months of water meant nothing if I ran out of food in 6 weeks. And I tried not to think about that. Tried to focus on immediate tasks. Checked the solar panels, cleaned them off, verified the battery bank was charging properly. Tested the backup radio batteries, organized supplies, swept the floor. Normal routines to keep the panic at bay. Around 2 p.m., I heard helicopters. Military by the sound of them, heavy transport birds flying north in formation. I counted 8 passing over, low enough that I could see they were packed with people. Refugees, maybe, or soldiers. They disappeared into the smoke haze, and I never saw them come back. An hour later, different helicopters. These ones were smaller, moving erratically, 2 of them circling something in the valley I couldn't see. I heard gunfire, the distinctive rattle of automatic weapons echoing up from below. And then one of the helicopters started trailing smoke, spinning, losing altitude. It disappeared behind a ridge, and I didn't see the crash, but I heard it. A dull crump that echoed off the mountain faces. No more helicopters after that. Evening brought more radio fragments. A broadcast from Boise claiming the infection was contained in the coastal regions. Another broadcast from Sacramento saying the infection had jumped the Rockies. A religious station playing hymns interspersed with prayers for the dead. A loop of the emergency broadcast system telling people to stay inside, avoid contact, wait for instructions that sounded less confident each time I heard them. I ate rice and beans for dinner. Fed Rufus the last half-can of his food mixed with rice. He ate it without enthusiasm, then went and lay down by the door like he was waiting for Linda to come home. He did that sometimes, just stared at the door for hours. I didn't have the heart to tell him she was gone. Didn't have the heart to tell him nobody was coming home ever again. The sun set behind smoke. I couldn't see it directly, just a diffuse red glow filtering through the haze. The temperature was dropping. I had blankets, I had propane for heat if it got desperate. But I tried not to use it. Tried to conserve everything. Tried to think long-term, even though long-term planning seemed absurd when the world was eating itself alive in the valleys below. Rufus climbed onto the cot with me that night, something Linda never allowed. But Linda wasn't here and the world had ended, and I needed something warm and alive next to me in the dark. Oh, he snored against my chest while I listened to the rain and the static-filled radio and the absolute absence of normal nighttime sounds. No distant traffic, no planes overhead, no voices carrying up from campgrounds. Just rain and static and breathing. Day 4 woke to Rufus barking. He was at the south window, hackles up, staring down at something. I scrambled up, grabbed the binoculars, scanned the slope below the tower. Movement in the trees. 2 people, 2 things, shambling up the trail. They were maybe a mile down, moving slow but steady, following the path that leads from the service road to the tower. I watched them through the lenses and felt my stomach drop. They'd been human. One wore what looked like a park ranger uniform, torn and stained dark. The other was in civilian clothes, a woman, I think, hard to tell from this distance. But the way they moved, that jerking, purposeless movement, heads swiveling like they were searching for something. And they were climbing. Actually climbing the mountain toward my tower. I'd read somewhere that these things follow sound, follow movement. Maybe they'd heard Rufus barking yesterday. Maybe they'd just stumbled onto the trail by accident. Didn't matter. They were coming. The tower sits on a rocky outcrop, accessible only by the trail or by climbing sheer rock faces that would challenge an experienced mountaineer. The trail has a series of switchbacks. Takes about 40 minutes to climb from the point where I first spotted them. I had time. Not much, but some. I grabbed the rifle from its hooks, checked the chamber, checked the magazine. 23 rounds. The revolver was in a drawer. I loaded it, put it in my belt. Rufus was still barking. I told him to quiet down, use the voice Linda used when she meant business. He stopped but kept growling, kept watching the trail. Through the binoculars, I tracked them. They moved steady, didn't tire, didn't stop. When they hit the switchbacks, they took each turn without hesitation, like they knew exactly where they were going. Like something was drawing them up here. I'm not a soldier. Never served. Had a high draft number during Vietnam and never got called. I've shot deer, shot coyotes bothering livestock back when Linda and I lived on that ranch in eastern Oregon. But I've never shot a person. Never pointed a gun at something that used to be human and made the decision to pull the trigger. Watch them get closer. Quarter mile now. I could see details through the lenses. The ranger's face was wrong, a jaw hanging slack, skin gray. The woman was missing an arm, just a ragged stump. But she kept coming like it didn't matter. Like pain and injury and normal human limitations meant nothing anymore. They reached the final stretch of trail. Couple 100 yards of steep grade leading to the tower outcrop. I could hear them now, hear the wet rasping sounds they made like breathing through fluid. Rufus was barking again. I let him. I went to the door. The tower sits on metal stilts, 10 feet off the ground with an external staircase leading up. The stairs are wooden, old, some of the boards soft with rot. I'd been meaning to replace them for years. Now I was glad I hadn't. I propped the door open, raised the rifle, sighted on the ranger. He was at the base of the stairs, put his foot on the first step. The wood groaned under his weight. He started climbing. I aimed center mass. My hands were shaking. The scope wavered across his chest, his neck, his ruined face. I tried to steady my breathing, tried to remember what my dad taught me about rifle shooting 50 years ago. Squeeze, don't pull. exhale slow. Find the moment between heartbeats. He was halfway up the stairs. The woman was right behind him. I could smell them now, rot and worse, sweet and chemical and wrong. I fired. The rifle kicked hard into my shoulder. The ranger's head snapped back and he fell, tumbled down the stairs, landed in a heap at the bottom. The woman kept coming. I worked the bolt, fired again, missed. She was on the stairs now, climbing over the ranger's body. Fired a third time, got her in the chest. She stumbled but didn't fall, kept reaching up toward me. Fourth shot took the top of her skull off. She collapsed. I stood there shaking, rifle smoke drifting in the cold air. Rufus was silent now, just standing next to me staring at the bodies. I could hear my heart pounding, could hear my breathing too fast and shallow. Could hear nothing else. No more movement on the trail. No more things climbing toward me. Went back inside, put the rifle down, sat on the floor. Rufus came and put his head in my lap, and I held on to him and tried not to think about the ranger. Tried not to wonder if he'd had a family, if he'd been stationed at Cascade Station where I'd called for help on day one. Tried not to think about the woman and who she'd been before. I'd killed them. They were already dead. I knew that. But I'd destroyed what was left. The first violence of my life. And it turned my stomach and made my hands shake and made me understand at a bone-deep level that this was the world now. This was survival. Killing things that used to be people because the alternative was becoming one of them. The bodies stayed where they fell. I didn't go down to move them. Couldn't make myself. Just left them there at the base of the stairs like a warning to anything else that might come up the trail. Day 5 more on the trail. I spotted them at dawn. 4 this time, spread out over a mile of switchbacks. They must have heard the gunshots yesterday. Must have followed the sound up from the valley. Now they were coming, and I had to deal with them. 19 rounds left in the rifle. 15 in the revolver. Not enough for a prolonged defense if they kept coming in groups. I needed to be smarter. The stairs. They were the weakness and the opportunity. Anything coming up had to use those stairs. And the stairs could be destroyed. I got the axe and the handsaw, went out on the landing and started working on the bottom section of the staircase. The wood was old pine, weathered but still solid in places. I cut through the supports on the bottom 4 steps, chopped them away until they hung loose. Then I kicked them free. They tumbled down, leaving a gap of about 6 feet between the ground and the remaining stairs. Not perfect. Those things could probably jump it if they tried. But it would slow them down, make them more vulnerable. Give me better shots. The 4 on the trail were getting closer. I went back inside, positioned myself at the south window with the rifle. Waited. They arrived around noon, aimed toward me. One of them tried to toward me. One of them tried to climb, jumped, caught the edge of the first intact step, hauled itself up. I shot it in the head. It fell. The others didn't react, just kept reaching. I picked them off methodically. Took my time, made each shot count. 4 shots, 4 bodies. 15 rounds left. But the gunshots would draw more. I knew that now. Every time I fired, I was ringing a dinner bell for every infected thing within earshot. Eventually, I'd run out of ammunition. Eventually, they'd pile up enough that they could climb over their own dead to reach me. I needed a new plan. Spent the afternoon thinking it through. The tower was defensible, but not indefinitely. I had limited ammunition, limited food, limited everything except water and time. If I stayed here, I'd eventually be overrun or starve. If I left and went where? Down into the valleys crawling with infected, down to the trailhead where my truck sat, assuming it still had tires and battery and gas. Down to a world that had stopped broadcasting on most frequencies. The radio gave me part of an answer. A ham operator in Bend was coordinating with other survivors, talking about a refugee camp forming at a military base near Redmond. Giving coordinates, describing safe routes, warning about infected hotspots. I copied it all down in the logbook. Redmond was maybe 60 miles as the crow flies. Closer to 80 by road, assuming the roads were passable. 80 miles through zombie territory with a 60-year-old body, bad knees, and an arthritic dog. Might as well be the moon. But staying meant dying slow. Running out of food, growing weaker, until I couldn't defend the tower anymore. Until Rufus died and I was alone. Until I put the revolver in my mouth and made it quick. Linda wouldn't want that. She'd fought so hard to live those last months, held on through pain I couldn't imagine, treasured every morning she woke up breathing. She'd be furious if I gave up now. I rationed dinner. 1 cup of rice, 1/4 can of tuna, handful of beans. Split it with Rufus. We ate while the sun set through the smoke, painting everything blood red and orange. The bodies at the base of the tower were starting to smell. I'd have to do something about them soon. Burn them maybe, if I could spare the fuel. Or just let nature take its course. Did it matter? More movement on the trail just before dark. 3 more infected climbing the switchbacks. I was out of daylight for good shooting. Let them come. Let them pile up at the base of the stairs where I could deal with them tomorrow. Conserve ammunition. Think long term. They gathered below, moaning that wet sound they make, reaching up toward the light from my windows. I closed the shutters. Couldn't stand to look at them anymore. Couldn't stand to see faces, recognize features, remember they'd been people once. Rufus and I lay on the cot together. I held him and listened to the things below and tried to plan for tomorrow. Tried to think past tomorrow. Tried to believe there was a point to any of this. Day 8, 3 days of the same pattern. They come up the trail in 1s and 2s and 3s. I shoot the ones I have clean shots at. The others pile up at the base of the stairs, unable to climb the gap I created. I'm down to 7 rounds in the rifle. Still have the full revolver, but that's emergency backup, last resort ammunition. The smell is unbearable now. 16 bodies decomposing in the late summer heat. I've taken to breathing through a cloth tied over my nose and mouth. Doesn't help much. The stench seeps into everything, my clothes, my hair, the inside of the tower. Rufus whines constantly. His nose is more sensitive than mine. This must be torture for him. I tried burning them. Poured half a container of lamp oil over the pile, tossed down a lit rag. The bodies burned, but not well enough. Just charred on the outside, still rotting underneath, now adding smoke to the stench. Waste of good fuel. The radio situation is deteriorating. Most of the ham operators have gone silent. The Bend coordinator stopped broadcasting 2 days ago, mid-sentence, just cut off and never came back. I still pick up emergency broadcasts, but they're looped now. Recorded messages repeating the same instructions that made sense when there was still a functioning government. I found a new frequency yesterday. A woman broadcasting from somewhere in the Cascades, sounding calm and professional, giving updates on infected movement patterns. She talked about how they're attracted to sound and movement, how they can't climb smooth surfaces, how they eventually deteriorate if left alone. Useful information. I listened for hours, copying notes, until she mentioned her location, a ranger station on Mount Hood. That's 100 miles north, might as well be on Mars. Food inventory's getting scary. 3 weeks of supplies left if I'm careful. 2 weeks if I'm realistic about caloric needs. I'm losing weight. can feel it in how my pants hang loose, how my shirts drape differently. Rufus is getting thin too, despite me giving him equal portions. His ribs show through his coat. His eyes are dull. Caught myself rationing his food more than mine yesterday. Gave him 3/4 of what I took. Justified it by saying I'm bigger, need more calories. But the truth is uglier. I'm calculating survival odds. Wondering if the dog food should go to me instead. Wondering how much longer his bad hips will hold out. Wondering if I should... I can't finish that thought. Can't even think it. He's all I have left of Linda. He's the only thing up here that loves me. I can't. Saw something strange through the binoculars today. A deer crossing a clearing about 2 miles east, moving normal, grazing, acting like deer act. I watched it for 20 minutes before something burst from the tree line. Infected, moving fast, running the deer down. The deer fled, but the infected thing was faster. I watched through the lenses as it caught the deer, brought it down, started feeding. I didn't know they did that. The broadcasts said they only attack humans. But I watched an infected eating a deer and had to revise my understanding. They're not zombies from the movies. They're not undead. They're infected with something that changes them, makes them aggressive and wrong and hungry. But they still need to eat. Still need fuel. Which means they might not last forever. Might run out of food themselves, might starve. More came up the trail in the afternoon. More came up the trail in the afternoon. 5 this time, moving in a loose group. I shot 3 with my remaining rifle ammunition, the last 4 rounds. Hit 2 in the head, 1 in the chest that didn't go down until the second shot. The other 2 made it to the base of the stairs where they joined the pile of their predecessors. Reaching up, moaning, always moaning. The rifle is empty now. All I have is the revolver. 15 shots, that's it. That's all that stands between me and them. I'm thinking about leaving. Seriously thinking about it. The Redmond camp might still be there. The roads might be passable. I could take what I can carry. Take Rufus. I try to make it down the mountain to the truck. 60 years old isn't that old. People my age run marathons. I could do this. Could try. But what about the infected on the trail? What about the ones in the forest, in the valleys, in every town between here and Redmond? What about Rufus, who can barely walk a mile before his hips lock up? What about the reality that I'd be trading a defendable position for the open road with no guarantee of anything better at the end? Linda used to say I overthink things. She'd look at a problem and just make a decision, right or wrong, and deal with the consequences. I'd agonize, weigh options, analyze every angle until the opportunity passed. She'd laugh about it, call me her overthinker, kiss me and tell me it was okay to just do something. I miss her so much it's a physical ache. Miss her voice, her smell, the way she'd touch my shoulder when she walked past. Miss her common sense and her decisiveness and the way she made me feel less alone even when we didn't talk for hours. She'd know what to do now. She'd have a plan. She wouldn't be sitting in a tower surrounded by corpses slowly starving to death. Evening brought rain. The barrels filled again. Water isn't a problem. Everything else is, but not water. Rufus won't eat his dinner. I put the bowl down, and he just sniffed it and walked away. He's done that before when his stomach's upset. But this felt different. He went to his spot by the door and lay down and didn't move for hours. I sat with him, rubbed his ears, told him it would be okay. Don't know if I was lying to him or to myself. Day 12. Rufus is sick. He threw up twice yesterday, refused all food, and barely drinks water. He just lies on the cot shaking, breathing too fast. I checked him over, felt his belly, looked at his gums. Everything seems wrong, but I don't know what wrong means. I'm not a vet. I'm just an old man watching his dog die and powerless to stop it. Called on the radio frequencies for a veterinarian. Any veterinarian. Anyone with animal medical knowledge. Got nothing but static and the looped emergency broadcasts. The world ended and took all the experts with it. I tried to get him to eat, mashed up rice with water into a paste, hand-fed it to him one tiny spoonful at a time. He took a little, threw it up an hour later, tried again with just water. Same result. He's dehydrating, getting weaker. His eyes are glassy and unfocused. Linda's morphine is still in the first aid kit. 8 pills, prescribed for her pain those last weeks. I looked at them for a long time. Thought about what it would mean to use one, to end his suffering before it gets worse, to make that choice for him because he can't make it himself. Can't do it. Not yet. Maybe he'll rally. Maybe it's just something he ate, something temporary. Maybe I'm being selfish, wanting him to stay alive, but I can't lose him. Can't lose the last living thing that connects me to before. Only 2 bodies came up the trail yesterday. Shot them both with a revolver. 13 rounds left. The frequency is dropping. Either there are fewer infected in the area, or they're spreading out, following other sounds elsewhere. The woman on Mount Hood said they wander, don't stay in one place, eventually drift away if there's no stimulus. Maybe that's happening here. The radio brought news. A broadcast from Portland, first one I've heard in days. Military claiming they've established a safe zone in the southeast quadrant of the city, calling for survivors to make their way to checkpoints, giving coordinates and routes, promising food, shelter, medical care. Portland is closer than Redmond, maybe 70 miles by the roads I know. But it's Portland. 1 million people before this started. How many infected now? How many desperate survivors? The broadcast could be real or it could be old, looped from days ago when there still was a safe zone. No way to verify. I wrote it down anyway. Options. Need to keep options. Spent the afternoon organizing supplies for potential evacuation. What can I carry? What's essential? I found a hiking pack in the storage closet. I started loading it with the most calorie-dense food: peanut butter, honey, rice, dried beans. Added the water filter, matches, first aid kit, knife, revolver, and ammunition. The pack weighed maybe 30 pounds. I put it on, walked around the tower. My knees screamed, my back hurt. 30 pounds felt like 100, took out half the food. Down to maybe 20 pounds. Better, but still heavy. How far could I go carrying this? 5 miles a day? 10 if I pushed. The trailhead was 7 miles. The truck another 15 miles to the nearest highway. Then 70 miles through infected territory to Portland. Call it 12 days of walking if nothing went wrong. If my knees held up. If I didn't get lost or injured. If the infected didn't find me. 12 days minimum. I had maybe 4 days of food in the pack. The math didn't work. Even if I pushed it, even if I rationed severely, I'd run out before I made it halfway. Unless I found food along the way. Houses to scavenge, stores to loot, abandoned cars with supplies. Possible. Or I'd find nothing but stripped shelves and infected. Also possible. Rufus made a sound, a weak whimper. I went to him, gave him water from a soaked cloth he could lick. He managed a few licks before his head dropped back down. His breathing was shallow. His nose was dry and hot. I held him and watched the sunset through the smoke. Beautiful like always. Indifferent to suffering. The world ending in fire and infection while nature just continued being beautiful. There was something obscene about it. Something that made me angry at the sky, at the trees, at everything still functioning while everything human fell apart. Made rice for dinner. Ate it cold because I didn't want to waste propane heating one meal. Tastes like paste without salt, but I'm rationing that too. Everything gets rationed now. Every calorie calculated, every resource measured against need versus remaining time. 13 days of food left by my new calculations. 10 if I'm realistic about declining physical condition requiring more calories. A week if I keep feeding Rufus even though he's not eating it. The numbers are bad. All the numbers are bad. And I still don't have a real plan beyond survive one more day, then one more, then one more. Day 15. Rufus died this morning. He stopped breathing around dawn, just a little sigh, and then stillness. I held him for a long time after, until his body started to cool, until I had to accept he was gone. I buried him next to the tower. Didn't have the strength to dig deep, just a shallow scrape in the rocky soil, piled stones on top to keep scavengers away. Not that there are scavengers anymore. The birds are gone, the squirrels, the rabbits, everything. The infected killed them or drove them away, or maybe the infection got them too like it got that deer. Found Linda's ring on its chain around my neck while I was digging. Held it in my dirty hand and cried for the first time since this started. Cried for the dog, for my wife, for the world that was and isn't anymore. Cried until there was nothing left and I was just empty. No point staying here now. No reason. The food's running out, I'm alone, and the tower is just a metal box full of ghosts. I need to move. Need to try for Portland or Redmond or anywhere that might have living people. Spent the day preparing. Sorted the pack again, took only essentials. Food for 7 days if I'm careful. Water filter. First aid kit. Linda's ring. The revolver and 12 remaining bullets. I fired one yesterday at an infected that got too close. Wasted the shot because my hands were shaking with grief. 12 left. Her morphine pills, because maybe I'll need them for pain or maybe for something final if it comes to that. Left the rifle. It's just weight now, useless without ammunition. Left most of my clothes, my books, Linda's books, everything that defined our life here. Taking only what fits in the pack and on my body. Did a final radio check. The Mount Hood woman is still broadcasting, still giving updates. She mentioned seeing infected behavior changing, some of them getting slower, more deteriorated, like the infection is consuming them. She said maybe it burns itself out eventually. Maybe we just need to wait. But I can't wait in an empty tower with 10 days of food and ghosts. Portland broadcast is still looping. Same message, same coordinates. Could be real, could be false hope. Only one way to find out. I'll leave at dawn. Hike down to the trailhead, hope my truck is still functional, try to drive out. If the roads are blocked, I'll go on foot. If I run into infected, I'll handle it. Somehow. Last sunset from the tower. I watched it paint the smoke gold and red. Watched the familiar ridgelines go dark. Watched the stars appear in the clear patches between clouds. This place was home for 8 months. Before that, it was home every summer for 37 years. Linda and I made love in this tower, made plans, made a life in the thin mountain air. Her ashes are out there somewhere, scattered on the wind, mixed into the soil. Part of the mountain now. I'm leaving her, leaving Rufus, leaving everything. And I don't know if I'll survive the week or make it to Portland or find anything but more death. But staying means dying slow, and Linda would be furious if I chose that. She'd tell me to try, to fight, to take the risk because the alternative is giving up. So I'm trying. Tomorrow, At dawn, one more night in the tower, one more night of memories and ghosts and the sound of infected moaning at the base of the stairs. Then I'm gone. Day 16. The trail down was worse than I remembered. My pack felt like it weighed 100 pounds despite being maybe 20. My knees throbbed with each downhill step. I had to stop every quarter mile to rest, to let my heart rate slow, to convince myself I could keep going. Made it to the trailhead by noon. 6 hours for 7 miles. Pathetic. At this rate, Portland was weeks away, not days. The truck was still there. Someone had smashed the driver's window, rifled through the cab, but they'd left it drivable. I checked the battery with shaking hands. Dead. Of course, dead. Sitting for months, cold nights, no maintenance. I found my jumper cables in the bed, but there was no other vehicle to jump from. Thought about trying to start it down the access road. But I'm 60 years old, and the truck weighs 2 tons, and the access road is uphill from here. Sat in the cab and tried to think. The radio worked on battery power. I scanned frequencies, heard the Portland loop, heard scattered transmissions, heard nothing useful. The CB radio mounted under the dash crackled with static. I tried it. This is anyone calling anyone. Stranded at Pinnacle Trailhead, need assistance. Static. Then a voice. Male, old, rough. Pinnacle? Jesus, you're still alive up there? My heart jumped. I came down. Truck won't start. Need a jump or a ride or... Who is this? Name's Bill. I'm about 8 miles south of you. Holed up in a maintenance station. Not coming to get you, friend. Too dangerous. Too many of those things between here and there. What about Portland? Is the safe zone real? Long pause. Then, was real. Got overrun 4 days ago. Heard it happen on the scanners. Military fell back to the west side, then stopped broadcasting. I wouldn't try for Portland. Redmond? Might still be standing. Haven't heard updates. But getting there from where you are. On slowing down, I've seen it. Give it slowing down, I've seen it. Give it another month and they might not be a threat. Just wait. I have 10 days of food. Then you better find more. Check the ranger stations, the campgrounds. Most got evacuated early, left supplies behind. You know the area? 37 years. Then use it. Scavenge what you need, find a hole, wait, and stay off the roads. The roads are death. The connection broke up. I tried to call back, but got nothing. Sat there in the truck with a broken window letting in cold air and thought about options. The ranger station at Cascade Creek was 3 miles east. Small facility, usually stocked with emergency supplies for hikers. Maybe Bill was right. Maybe there was food there, batteries, things I needed. 3 miles. I could walk 3 miles. And then what? Hole up there? Keep scavenging? Play this game of survival until the food ran out, or the infected found me, or winter came and froze me to death? The alternative was trying for Redmond. 60 miles through infected territory on a broken truck or on foot with 10 days of food. Suicide odds. I chose the ranger station. At least I knew the terrain. At least it was a goal I could reach before dark. Shouldered the pack. Locked the truck out of habit, even though locks meant nothing now. Started walking east on the service road. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. No bird song, no rustling in the underbrush, nothing. Just wind in the pines and my footsteps on gravel and the sound of my breathing. I kept the revolver in my hand, a thumb on the safety. Every shadow looked like movement. Every sound made me freeze. 2 miles in, I saw my first infected since leaving the tower. It was sitting in the middle of the road, just sitting there motionless like a broken toy. I approached carefully, revolver raised. It didn't react. Didn't move. I circled around it, keeping distance, and saw why. It was deteriorating. The skin hung loose, gray and mottled. The eyes were sunken and dry. The jaw hung open, showing black gums. The whole thing looked desiccated, mummified. When I got behind it, I saw the back of its skull had been smashed in, probably weeks ago. It was dead, not infected dead. Just a corpse in the road. I walked past it and tried not to think about all the infected I'd killed at the tower. Were they deteriorating like this? Or would the problem really solve itself if people just waited? The ranger station came into view around a bend. Single-story building, green metal roof, surrounded by parking lot and informational kiosks. 2 vehicles in the lot, a parked service truck and a civilian car. The building's windows were intact. The door was closed. I approached carefully, listened, heard nothing. Tried the door, locked, looked through the windows, dark inside, couldn't see much. Broke a window with a rock. The sound shattered the silence, echoing off the trees. I froze, waiting for infected to come running. Nothing moved. I climbed through the window, dropped into an office, landed hard on my bad knee, and had to bite back a scream. The station was trashed. File cabinets overturned, papers everywhere, desk drawers pulled out and dumped. Someone had been here, on multiple someones, looked like. But the emergency supply closet in the back room was still locked. I broke the lock with a fire axe from the wall mount. Jackpot. The closet was full of supplies, freeze-dried camping meals, energy bars, first aid kits, water purification tablets, batteries, flashlights, emergency blankets. I started loading my pack, recalculating my survival timeline. 40 freeze-dried meals, 20 energy bars. With what I had left from the tower, I was looking at maybe 60 days of food. 2 months. More than enough to wait out the infection if it really was burning itself out. I found maps too. Detailed topographic maps of the entire area. I spread them on the floor, studied the terrain. There were dozens of ranger stations, maintenance buildings, campgrounds scattered through these mountains. Each one potentially had supplies. Each one could extend my timeline further. And if I stayed mobile, kept scavenging, avoided the infected and the main roads, maybe I could outlast this. Maybe Bill was right about waiting. It was getting dark. The station had bunks, a bathroom, propane heat, defensible windows, solid doors. I could stay here tonight, rest, make plans tomorrow. Better than sleeping in the forest, better than the empty tower. I heated a freeze-dried meal. Chicken teriyaki, said the packet. Tasted like chemicals and salt, but it was hot and it filled my stomach. First hot meal in days. I almost cried again. Barricaded the door and the broken window. Set up on a bunk with my revolver on the floor beside me. Listened to the radio. The Mount Hood woman was still broadcasting, talking about infected migration patterns, about survivor groups forming in the high country, about people finding ways to endure. I wasn't alone. That's what I kept thinking as I lay there in the dark. I wasn't the only one still trying, still fighting, still refusing to give up. Linda would approve. She'd call me stubborn, call me her survivor, tell me she knew I had it in me. And maybe I did. Maybe I could do this. Maybe there was still a future on the other side of this nightmare. Sleep came hard, but it came. And for the first time since the world ended, I had something like hope. Day 23. A week at the ranger station taught me things. Taught me that infected are attracted to regular sounds. I made the mistake of using a hand pump for water in the well outside, and 3 of them showed up within an hour. Taught me that they can open doors, but they'll claw at them indefinitely if they know something's inside. taught me that I can go 3 days without speaking and start to forget how my voice sounds. The station had a CB radio with better range than mine at the tower. I picked up more transmissions. A group in Sisters, Oregon, coordinating supply runs. A family in Bend surviving in a fortified house. A doctor in Eugene treating injured survivors and calling for medical supplies. The world was still out there, broken but breathing, scattered pockets of humanity trying to rebuild. But I also picked up silence on frequencies that used to be active. The Portland broadcasts stopped completely. The Mount Hood woman went quiet mid-sentence 3 days ago. Bill from the maintenance station stopped responding to my calls. One by one, the voices were disappearing. I ventured out to scavenge nearby locations. Found an abandoned campground 2 miles north. Got 6 more days of food from the camp store. Found a maintenance shed with tools and a working generator. Took what I could carry. Found a car with keys in it and half a tank of gas. But the battery was dead and I couldn't jump it alone. Saw more infected. But they were slower now. Noticeably slower. The deterioration Bill mentioned was real. I watched one trying to climb a slope and it moved like it was underwater. Muscles not responding right, coordination gone. Eventually, it gave up and just stood there swaying. Not all of them, though. Some were still fast, still dangerous. I ran into 2 that moved with purpose. Chased me for half a mile before I lost them in thick timber. My 60-year-old knees barely kept ahead. My lungs burned. I thought I was going to have a heart attack right there in the forest. That night, I took stock of my physical condition. Lost maybe 30 pounds since this started. Ribs showing, face gaunt, skin hanging loose. I'm not eating enough to maintain body mass while hiking miles every day carrying a heavy pack. The math is catching up. Calorie deficit, muscle wasting, declining strength. And my medications ran out 5 days ago. Blood pressure pills I've been on for a decade. I can feel the difference. Headaches, dizziness when I stand up fast, this tight feeling in my chest that scares me. I'm one hypertensive crisis away from a stroke or heart attack, and there's no hospital, no doctor, no help. Found a medical clinic in Cascade Springs yesterday. Had to risk it. Needed to try for medication. The town was worse than I expected. Bodies everywhere, most of them deteriorated to mummies. Infected wandering aimlessly, slow and purposeless. I moved through like a ghost, staying quiet, staying hidden. The clinic had been ransacked. Every medication cabinet broken open, pills scattered everywhere. I searched for hours, found blood pressure medication, grabbed bottles, didn't even check the dosage. Just took what I could find. Got some antibiotics too, general supplies, bandages. On my way out, I passed a pharmacy. The windows were smashed, the interior gutted. But I went in anyway. Found more supplies in the back. Found something else too. A photograph taped to the pharmacist's station. A family photo. Pharmacist, his wife, 2 kids, all smiling. Someone had written on it in Sharpie, "Gone to Salem safe zone. Back when this is over." They'd believed they'd come back. Believed this was temporary. I wondered if they made it to Salem. If there ever was a safe zone there. If they were still alive, or if they were among the shambling things I'd seen outside. I took the photo. Don't know why. Put it in my pack next to Linda's ring. Reminders that other people existed once. That I wasn't always this alone. The walk back to the ranger station took 6 hours. I was exhausted, dehydrated, seeing spots. Pushed too hard. But I made it. Barricaded inside, took my new blood pressure medication with water, felt the headache ease slightly. The radio brought news. The sisters group got overrun. I heard it happen, heard the screaming and gunfire, and then silence. Another voice gone. Well, silent. We're being picked off, one by one. How many of us are left? How many survivors still fighting? The numbers get smaller every day. Every broadcast that stops, every frequency that goes silent. We're being picked off, one by one, group by group. The infected are slowing down, but we're running out of time faster. I'm thinking about heading higher, back into the mountains, above the tree line where it's harder for infected to reach. There are shelters up there, emergency huts for winter climbers. They'd have supplies. They'd be defensible. I could last out the winter if I had enough food, enough fuel. But winter in the high country means snow, means temperatures below zero, means being trapped for months with whatever supplies I can carry up. And I'm already weak, already struggling with the weight of my pack. Could I even make the climb? Could I survive the cold? The alternative is staying here, scavenging, playing cat and mouse with infected until spring. Until the infection burns out, or I run out of luck, or my heart gives out from stress and bad medication ratios. Neither option is good. Both probably lead to death. Just different timelines, different causes. Linda's voice in my head. Stop overthinking. Make a choice. Deal with consequences. But she's not here to help me deal with them. She's Ash on a mountaintop 60 miles away, and I'm a dying old man in a ranger station trying to decide how to survive one more day. Day 31 months since I watched Cascade Springs burn. 1 month of surviving. I'm still alive. Barely, but alive. The high country plan fell apart before it started. I tried hiking up toward the nearest shelter. Made it maybe 2 miles before my chest started hurting bad enough I had to stop. Sat on a rock gasping while my heart hammered and my vision went gray at the edges. Took one of Linda's morphine pills to ease the pain. Helped. But I only have 5 left, and I need to save them for real emergencies. Turned back. Accepted I'm not climbing mountains anymore. Accepted my body's limitations. 60 years old. Heart condition. No proper medication. Malnourished. I'm running on borrowed time. But something happened that changed things. I found survivors. Was scavenging a campground 5 miles west when I heard voices. Real voices, not infected moans. 2 people talking in low tones. I hid behind a tent platform and watched them emerge from the woods. A man and a teenage girl, both armed, both looking like they'd been through hell, and I almost called out. Almost revealed myself. But something made me wait, made me watch. The man was methodical, checking every tent, every vehicle. The girl stood guard, rifle ready. They moved like soldiers, like people who'd learned to survive. They scavenged the camp store, took food and supplies, loaded a cart. Then they left, heading north on a trail I knew led to an old logging road. I followed them, stayed back, stayed hidden. They led me 3 miles to a converted hunting lodge surrounded by improvised fortifications, cars parked in barriers, chain-link fence reinforced with scrap metal, guard posts at the corners. Through binoculars, I counted maybe 15 people moving around inside the compound. A community, an actual surviving community. And they had gardens growing. Solar panels on the roof, smoke coming from chimneys. They were thriving, not just surviving. I watched them all afternoon from a ridge overlooking the lodge. Watched them work together, share meals, laugh at something someone said. Saw children playing, actual children still alive. The sight made my chest ache worse than any heart problem. Should I approach them, ask to join? I have skills. I know this area, know how to read weather, know where supplies might be hidden. I could contribute, could be useful. But I'm also a stranger. A sick old man who'd be a burden, consume resources. probably die within months anyway. Why would they take me in? Why would they risk it? I'm still thinking about it. Spent last night in an abandoned RV a mile from their compound, watching through windows, trying to decide. The radio picked up their transmissions. They're coordinating with other groups, trading information about infected movements, about safe routes. They're organized. They're planning for the future. There is a future. That's what I'm realizing. This isn't the end. It's a transition. The old world died, but something new is growing in its place. These people are building it. Building community, building hope, building reasons to keep going. And I'm sitting outside in the cold debating whether I deserve to be part of it. Linda would slap me. She'd say I'm being stupid, overthinking again, wasting time on self-pity when I should be knocking on their door. She'd tell me everyone has value, everyone can contribute, and sitting alone feeling sorry for myself helps nobody. She'd be right. She usually was. Tomorrow. I'll approach them tomorrow. Worst they can do is turn me away. Best case, I find a reason to keep living beyond just surviving one more day. Tonight I'll rest, eat a proper meal, take my medication, practice what I'll say, prepare to rejoin the human race. Day 31. They shot at me. Not to kill, warning shots, but still. I approached the compound with my hands up, calling out friendly, announcing myself. Someone on the guard post fired 2 rounds into the dirt 10 feet in front of me. I stopped real fast. That's far enough. A woman's voice, hard and suspicious. State your business. I'm alone, unarmed, just looking for help. I kept my hands high, tried not to shake. Put your pack down. Step away from it. I complied. Stood there in the cold while they debated behind their fence. Finally, a gate opened, and 3 people came out. The man and girl I'd seen scavenging, plus an older woman with a shotgun. And they approached carefully, kept weapons ready. The man searched my pack while the women covered me. He pulled out my food, my supplies, Linda's ring, the photograph from the pharmacy. Studied each item. Looked at me different after seeing the ring. You're alone? He asked. Yes. How long? 2 weeks. Month if you count my dog dying. The older woman lowered her shotgun slightly. Where are you coming from? Fire tower. Pinnacle lookout, 14 miles east. Ran out of food, came down, been scavenging since. They exchanged looks. The girl spoke for the first time. The tower's still standing. Was when I left it. More looks. The man made a decision. We'll give you a meal, medical check, then you leave. We can't take on another mouth, especially... He trailed off, but I heard what he didn't say. Oh, especially an old man who won't last long. I nodded. A meal was more than I expected. Thank you. They took me inside the compound. The place was impressive up close, organized, clean, functional. They'd built this with thought and care. The gardens were winter prepped, the fortifications solid. This was long-term planning, not desperate survival. A woman who introduced herself as Rachel looked me over. She'd been a nurse, she said. Took my blood pressure with a handcuff, listened to my heart, asked about my medication, frowned when I told her about the pills I'd scavenged. This dosage is wrong for your weight, she said. You're taking too much. That's probably why you're having chest pains. She adjusted my medication from their supply. Gave me a week's worth of the right pills. Also gave me vitamins, antibiotics. Said I was malnourished and needed to eat more protein. Like I had a choice about that. They fed me. Real food. Venison stew with vegetables from their garden, bread someone had baked, clean water. I ate slow, tried not to wolf it down, tried to be civilized. but it was the best meal I'd had in a month, and I couldn't help myself. While I ate, the man, his name was Paul, asked questions. What had I seen? Where had I been? What did I know about infected behavior? I told him everything. About the tower, the deterioration I'd witnessed, the broadcasts I'd heard. He listened carefully, taking notes. We've seen the same deterioration, he said. The infection seems to have a life cycle. Fast and aggressive at first, then declining motor function, then complete breakdown. We think most of the infected will be completely immobile within 6 months. Most? Some seem to last longer. We don't know why. Variance in metabolism maybe, or exposure level. But the trend is clear. Time is on our side. I wanted to ask about staying, about joining them. But I saw their situation. 20 people in a space meant for 15. Crowded bunks, rationed food, careful resource management. They were doing well, but they weren't thriving. Another person, especially one who consumed more than he contributed, would strain everything. Rachel must have seen it on my face. She touched my arm gently. There's a cabin about 6 miles southwest, old forestry station. We've been using it as a waypoint for supplies. It's defensible, has a well, wood stove. We could spare some food, get you set up there. Check on you weekly. Not joining them, but not alone either. A middle ground. I could live with that. I'd appreciate it, I said. They loaded me up with supplies. 2 weeks of food, proper medication, winter gear, firewood starter, batteries. Paul gave me a radio and a call schedule. Check in every 3 days, he said. Missed 2 check-ins and we'll come looking. You need help, call. We might not come immediately, but we'll try. The girl, her name was Emma, gave me something unexpected. A puppy, 8 weeks old, mutt breed, squirming and licking my hands. Found a pregnant dog 2 weeks ago, she explained. Had 6 puppies. We can't keep them all. This one's yours if you want her. I held the warm bundle of fur and almost cried. What's her name? Hasn't got one yet. Your choice. I looked at the puppy, thought about Rufus, thought about Linda and how she'd loved dogs, how she'd always said a house wasn't a home without one. Thought about having something alive to care for again, something to keep me going through cold nights. Hope, I said. I'll call her Hope. Emma smiled. First real smile I'd seen in a month. Good name. They walked me to the cabin, helped me get settled. The place was small but solid. 1 room, wood stove, cot, table. Windows with shutters, a well with a hand pump 30 feet from the door. They'd already stocked it with basic supplies. They'd planned this, I realized. Had this ready as an outpost or a backup location. Paul showed me the perimeter, where they'd cleared sight lines, where the escape routes were. We've only seen 2 infected in this area in the last week, he said. And both were slow movers. You should be fine. But stay alert. Keep your weapon ready. We shook hands. He headed back with Emma and Rachel. I watched them go, then turned to look at my new home. Small, isolated, but mine, and safer than anywhere I'd been since leaving the tower. Hope whined at my feet. I picked her up, held her close. She smelled like puppy and dirt and life. She licked my face, and I let her. Didn't care about dignity or toughness or any of that. Just held this warm, living thing and felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Gratitude for being alive, for being given another chance, for being shown kindness by strangers who had every reason to turn me away. The radio crackled. Paul's voice. Test, test, you copy? I grabbed it. I copy, loud and clear. Good. Remember 3-day check-ins. And don't do anything stupid. I'll try. We'll try too. A welcome to the neighborhood. The radio went quiet. I sat on the cot with Hope in my lap and looked around my cabin. Not much, but it was something. A place to be. People who knew I existed. A dog to care for. Enough food to make it through winter. 30 days ago, I watched the world end from a fire tower. Today, I'm in a cabin with a puppy and a future that extends past tomorrow. Not sure how I got here. Not sure I deserve it. But I'm taking it. I'm taking every day I get and making it count. For Linda. For Rufus. For everyone who didn't make it this far. For Hope. Day 47. Winter's coming early. I can feel it in the morning air. See it in how the trees are changing. The aspens went gold 2 weeks ago. Now they're bare. Snow dusted the high peaks yesterday. Temperatures dropping 5 degrees every few days. Hope's grown. She's 16 weeks now, gangly and awkward, all paws and ears. House trained her using the same techniques Linda used with Rufus. She's smart, picks things up fast, barks at anything moving in the woods, which is good and bad. Good because it alerts me. Bad because noise draws infected. We've seen 3 in the last 2 weeks. All slow movers, deteriorated to the point they could barely walk. I watched one from the cabin window trying to navigate around a tree. Took it 5 minutes to figure out the path. The infection's definitely burning out. Paul was right about the timeline. The weekly check-ins with the compound have become the highlight of my existence. Every 3 days I radio in, report status, listen to news from the outside. They've made contact with other survivor groups, found a whole community in Bend that's organizing a coalition, talking about reestablishing trade routes, sharing resources, rebuilding infrastructure. They're thinking big, thinking long-term. Paul visited last week, brought supplies and news. The infection's slowing everywhere. The fast movers are rare now. Most of what's left are the deteriorated ones that pose minimal threat. He thinks by spring they'll be completely non-viable. We're winning, he said. Not quickly, not cleanly, but we're outlasting them. I asked about the world beyond Oregon. He said communications are still spotty, but they've picked up broadcasts from California, Washington, Idaho. Pockets of survivors everywhere. Militaries regrouping in some areas. Governments trying to reconstitute in others. It's chaos, but it's organized chaos. The rebuild has started. We talked about the future, about what comes after. He asked if I'd consider moving to the compound once they expand. Said my knowledge of the area was valuable. Said they could use someone with my experience. I said I'd think about it. But honestly, I'm comfortable here. The cabin's become home. I've got routines, rhythms, chop wood in the morning, check the perimeter, maintain supplies, train Hope, read Linda's books by the wood stove, listen to the radio. Simple existence, but it's mine. And I'm healthier. Rachel's medication protocol worked. My blood pressure's stable, the chest pain stopped. I've gained back some weight from regular meals. I'm not the man I was before all this. That person's gone forever. But I'm functional. I'm surviving. Found something interesting 3 days ago while exploring the area. An old mine shaft, half a mile upslope, hidden behind brush. I investigated carefully. Found it went back maybe 50 feet before ending in a cave-in. But near the entrance, someone had stored supplies, canned food, blankets, water containers, survival cache, probably decades old. The canned goods were still safe, expiration dates from 2015, but sealed cans last forever if stored right. I hauled it all back to the cabin, added maybe a month to my food supply, felt like finding treasure, felt like the universe was still providing. Hope found something too. She was digging in the woods behind the cabin when she uncovered bones. Old bones, animal skeleton, probably deer. But she was so proud of herself. brought me a femur like it was the greatest prize. I let her keep it. She gnaws on it every evening by the stove. The radio's been picking up music lately. Someone in Portland set up a broadcast station, plays pre-infection music interspersed with news and messages. Hearing music again, actual music, not just static and emergency broadcasts. It does something to your soul. Makes you remember there's beauty left, that not everything died. I heard a song Linda used to love. Harvest Moon by Neil Young. We danced to it at our wedding 41 years ago in her parents' backyard. I sat in the cabin and listened and cried and felt her presence so strongly. It was like she was there, like she was watching, like she approved of how I'm living, how I'm trying. Emma radioed yesterday. She's learning to hunt, she said. Wants to know if I'll teach her to track. I said yes. It'll be good to pass on knowledge, to help someone learn, to contribute in ways beyond just not dying. We're scheduled for tomorrow. She'll hike out here, spend the day learning the basics. Paul's coming too, wants to scout the area for potential expansion sites. They're planning ahead, building for a future where there are enough people to need multiple settlements. A future, actual future, not just survival, but rebuilding. The concept still feels foreign, but I'm starting to believe it. Day 63, Emma's a natural hunter. Took her out 3 times now, taught her to read tracks, identify game trails, move quietly through the forest. She's patient, observant, doesn't spook easily. Shot her first deer last week with my rifle. Clean kill, 1 shot through the lungs. She field-dressed it herself with minimal guidance. I was impressed. We've been sharing the meat, half to the compound, half for me. First fresh protein I've had in months beyond the occasional squirrel. I've been smoking strips in a homemade smoker, building up winter stores. The work feels good, purposeful. Hope's become Emma's shadow when she visits. The dog's 5 months old now, losing her puppy awkwardness, becoming lean and strong. She's got retrieving instincts, brings back sticks and bones and anything else you throw. Emma's been training her to track, says a good tracking dog would be valuable for the community. The community's grown. They've taken in 6 more survivors in the last month. Found a family hiding in a basement in Cascade Springs. Found a couple living in an RV who'd been moving camp every few days to avoid infected. The compound's bursting now. 26 people in a space, meant for 20. They're talking about serious expansion. Paul showed me plans yesterday. They want to establish 3 satellite settlements within a 5-mile radius, each supporting 8 to 10 people. Connected by radio, sharing resources, providing mutual defense. The cabin where I'm at would be one of them. They want me to oversee it, take in a few people, build it into a proper outpost. I'm hesitant. I've gotten used to solitude, used to it being just me and Hope and the quiet. But I also understand the logic. Strength in numbers, division of labor, building something bigger than individual survival. Think about it, Paul said. No rush, but we need to expand before winter really hits. And you're already established here, already proven you can maintain this location. He left me the plans. I've been studying them by lamplight. I was trying to imagine this cabin transformed into a community hub. Garden plots, storage expansion, additional housing. It's ambitious, but achievable. The infected are almost gone. I haven't seen one in 2 weeks. The radio reports confirm what we're seeing. The infection's burned through its life cycle. The fast movers are dead. The slow movers are dying. What's left are corpses and memories and trauma that'll take generations to process. But we survived. Humanity survived. And now we're rebuilding. Rachel visited yesterday, did a full medical check on me. said I'm doing remarkably well for someone who nearly died 2 months ago. Blood pressure normal, heart function improved, weight approaching healthy. She gave me a clean bill of health with the caveat that I need to continue medication and avoid overexertion. "You'll probably see 70, she said with a smile. "Maybe even 75 if you're careful. 10 more years. Maybe 15. That was more than I expected to get when Linda died. More than I deserved after watching the world burn and doing nothing but survive. What do I do with that time? Hide in a cabin until my heart gives out? Or help build something that outlasts me? Create something future generations might use?" Linda's voice again, clear as day. "You already know the answer. Stop overthinking. Do the work. She's right. Of course she's right. I radioed Paul this morning. Told him yes. Yes to the expansion. Yes to taking in people. Yes to building this into something larger than myself." "Good man," he said. "We'll start bringing supplies next week. First resident arrives in 10 days. 10 days to prepare. To shift from solitary survival to communal living. To remember how to be around people, how to lead, how to contribute to something bigger. I'm scared. I'm 60 years old, set in my ways, used to silence and solitude. But I'm also excited. For the first time since Linda died, I have a purpose beyond just existing. Hope's asleep at my feet. The fire's burning warm. Outside it's starting to snow, first real snow of the season, coming down soft and steady. By morning, everything will be white and clean and new. New. That's what we're building. Not a restoration of what was, but something new, rising from the ashes. And I get to be part of it. Get to help shape it. Linda would be proud. I hope she's watching. I hope she sees I didn't give up. That I took her advice and kept trying, kept fighting, kept moving forward even when it seemed impossible. I miss her every day. Miss Rufus every day. Miss the world that was. But I'm here. I'm alive. And I've got work to do. Day 89. 3 people live at the cabin now besides me. Marcus, no, can't use that name. Robert, a former carpenter who's rebuilding the structure to accommodate more. Jessica, a teacher who started homeschooling the compound's children via radio lessons. And Tom, a young guy who served in the National Guard, provides security and training. It's crowded. It's noisy. It's nothing like the solitude I'd grown accustomed to. And it's exactly what I needed. Robert's expansion work has transformed the place. We've got a second room now. Proper bunks, a storage area that keeps supplies organized and dry. The wood stove's been upgraded with a better chimney system. Well, we've got solar panels charging battery banks for lights and the radio equipment. Jessica teaches every morning. I listen sometimes while doing chores. Hear her patient voice explaining mathematics and history and science to children scattered across 3 settlements. She's preserving knowledge, ensuring the next generation doesn't grow up ignorant. It's beautiful work. Tom's been teaching me to shoot better. My eyes aren't what they used to be, but with practice I've gotten decent with the rifle at medium range. He says it's important everyone can defend themselves, even though the threat's mostly past. Habits for the future. Preparation for whatever comes next. Hope's a full-grown dog now, 70 pounds of muscle and loyalty. She patrols the perimeter twice daily, alerts us to any movement. False alarms mostly, deer, elk, and sometimes a bear preparing for hibernation. But she takes the job seriously. Emma's training has paid off. We've seen one infected in the last month. A slow mover that wandered into the clearing, confused and deteriorating. Tom put it down from the porch. We burned the body to be safe. The last one, hopefully. The radio reports suggest that we're at the tail end. Maybe another month before there's nothing left but corpses and memories. The coalition Paul mentioned is taking shape. 17 survivor communities in Oregon and Northern California coordinating together. They're establishing trade routes, sharing resources, planning for spring planting. Someone's even talking about restarting a newspaper, distributing news and information between settlements. We're building back. Slower than before, different than before, but building. To us, I think about the view from the fire tower sometimes. That 360 perspective on the world, seeing everything laid out below. I watched the end from up there. Watched Cascade Springs burn, watched the infection spread, watched civilization collapse. But I didn't see this. Didn't see the rebuild starting. Didn't see communities forming, people cooperating, hope spreading as fast as the infection once did. That's happening down here in the dirt and the work and the daily choices to keep trying. Emma got her first solo deer last week. Brought it down clean, field dressed it properly, shared the meat between settlements. She's 17 now, grown hard and capable in ways that break my heart. Childhood ended for her when the world did. But she's strong. She'll survive. She'll thrive. We celebrated with a feast. Venison steaks, each root vegetables from the compound's winter stores, bread Jessica baked. 26 people gathered in the main hall, eating and talking and laughing. Real laughter, not the desperate kind from early days, but genuine joy. Someone played guitar. Someone else sang. I sat with hope at my feet and looked around at faces lit by firelight. Survivors, all of us. Each with our own story of loss and survival and making it through. Each choosing to keep going, to build something new, to believe in tomorrow. Paul made a speech, thanked everyone for their work, their dedication, their refusal to give up. Announced plans for spring, expanding gardens, establishing a workshop for repairs, sending out trade expeditions to other communities. Building toward self-sufficiency. Building toward a future. He caught my eye across the room. On Cabin Through Snow, Tom asked me about the cabin through snow. Tom asked me about the tower, about what it was like watching the end from above. Lonely, I said. Terrifying. But also distant. Like it wasn't real. Like it was happening to someone else. And now? Now it's real. Now I'm part of it instead of above it. Better this way. He nodded, understanding. We walked in comfortable silence, hope ranging ahead, checking the trail. The stars were out, brilliant in cold air. Same stars that shone on the world before. Same stars that'll shine long after we're gone. But tonight, they're ours. Tonight we're alive under them, warm and fed and together. Tonight, we're winning. Day 127. Winter settled in hard. 2 feet of snow on the ground. Temperatures dropping below zero at night. We're burning through firewood fast, everyone taking turns with the axe and saw keeping the supply up. My back protests the work, but I do it anyway. Have to contribute, have to earn my place. The radio's been quiet lately. Winter storms knock out some of the relay stations, limit communication. But we get through when it's clear. The coalition's still coordinating, still growing. Last count was 23 communities, almost 400 survivors confirmed. Probably more who haven't made contact yet. 400. Out of what, 1 million people who lived in this region? The numbers are staggering. The loss incomprehensible. But 400 is more than zero. 400 means hope. No infected sightings in 43 days. Tom thinks they're done, or completely burned out. Robert's more cautious, says we should maintain vigilance through spring just to be sure. I agree with Robert. Caution kept me alive this long. Jessica's been having me tell stories during evening gatherings. Stories about the tower, about working as a lookout, about Linda and the life we built. She says it's important to preserve personal histories, to remember what came before. She records them on a hand-cranked tape recorder she scavenged from somewhere. Talking about Linda still hurts, still brings tears sometimes. But it also keeps her alive, in a way. Keeps her part of the story. She deserves that. She deserves to be remembered for more than how she died. I told them about Rufus, too. About how he stayed with me through the worst of it. How his presence kept me sane. Emma got quiet during that story. Later, she told me Hope reminds her of a dog her family had before. Before they died. Before she was alone. We're all carrying that weight. All have our before and after stories. All lost people we loved. Talking about it helps. Sharing the burden makes it lighter. The storm's rolling in. I can feel it in my joints, see it in the way the clouds are building. We'll be snowed in for a few days probably. Good time to rest, to maintain equipment, to plan for spring. Spring seems impossible from here. The world buried in white, frozen, and still. But it'll come. The seasons don't care about apocalypses. Life continues its cycles regardless of humanity's struggles. Paul's planning an expedition in March, soon as the pass is clear. He wants to establish contact with communities in Idaho, expand the coalition eastward. It's ambitious. Just hold them back. But I'll help with just hold them back. But I'll help with planning, share my knowledge of the terrain, contribute what I can from here. Robert's teaching me carpentry basics. Says I should learn while I can, while he's here to teach. He's right. Skills are currency now. Knowledge keeps communities alive. I'm learning to properly join wood, to make furniture, to repair and maintain structures. My hands shake sometimes, but I'm getting better. Hope's hunting with Emma regularly now. They brought down an elk last week, massive animal, enough meat to feed the compound for a month. We smoked and preserved most of it. Winter stores are good. We'll make it through to spring with food to spare. That's victory. Not just surviving, but thriving. Having surplus. Being able to share. Being able to look ahead and plan instead of just reacting to immediate crisis. The fire's burning warm. Snow's falling outside. My settlement mates are gathered around the table playing cards, arguing good-naturedly about strategy. Hope stretched out by the stove, paws twitching in dreams. Normal sounds. Normal life? If you told me 4 months ago I'd be here, living like this, I wouldn't have believed you. Would have said I was dying alone in a tower watching the world burn. Would have said there was no future, no hope, no reason to try. But here I am. Alive. Part of something. Building toward tomorrow. Linda's ring is still around my neck. I touch it sometimes, reminder of love, of loss, of what I'm living for. She'd like it here. She'd like these people. She'd be proud of what we're building. I miss her. Always will. But I'm okay. Against all odds, I'm okay. And that's enough. Day 186 spring came sudden and wet. The snow melted fast, turned everything to mud, swelled the streams to flooding. We've been working overtime, reinforcing the cabin's foundation, digging drainage channels, protecting our supplies from water damage. The settlement's grown. We've got 8 people now permanently stationed here. Robert finished the expansion, 2 separate structures now, connected by a covered walkway. Solar array's been upgraded. We've got a workshop, a food storage building, gardens prepped for planting. Emma moved here permanently last week. She's 19 now, considered an adult, made her own choice to join our outpost instead of staying at the main compound. Said she preferred the smaller community, the quieter setting. I think she just likes the hunting opportunities. She and Hope are inseparable. The dog responds to her better than to me now. I don't mind. They make a good team. They keep us fed with regular game. They scout the perimeter. They're the early warning system for anything unusual. We've seen elk, deer, bears coming out of hibernation. The wildlife's recovering fast. Without human interference, the populations are exploding. In 5 years, we might have more animals than we know what to do with. Good problem to have. The coalition's up to 31 communities now. Paul's expedition to Idaho was successful. Found 3 more groups, established communication, set up trade agreements. They brought back seeds, livestock, news from the east. The rebuild's happening everywhere. Slower than we'd like, but happening. No infected in 6 months. The threat's over. We won. Humanity survived. But the trauma remains. Jessica's teaching trauma counseling via radio, helping people process what they've been through. We all need it. We're all carrying damage that doesn't show. Nightmares, flashbacks, anxiety, depression. The infection ended, but the psychological impact continues. I still dream about the tower sometimes. About watching Cascade Springs burn, about the bodies at the base of the stairs, about Rufus dying, about Linda turning to ash. Wake up in cold sweats, heart racing, convinced I'm back there alone. But then I hear Robert snoring in the next room. Hear Hope's tail thumping when she knows I'm awake. Hear morning sounds of a settlement waking up. And I'm grounded. I'm here. I'm safe. We're planning a memorial. Coalition-wide, set for mid-June. Every community will gather their people, honor their dead, remember what was lost. Jessica's organizing it. She says it's important for collective healing, for closure. I'll speak about Linda, about Rufus, about the ranger and the woman I killed on the tower stairs, about all the faces I saw through binoculars those first days, the people who died while I watched from safety. I'll speak and I'll cry, and I'll let the grief out instead of keeping it locked inside. And maybe it'll hurt a little less. The gardens are planted. Potatoes, beans, squash, carrots. We've got chickens now. 6 hens and a rooster, brought from the main compound. Fresh eggs every morning. The luxury of it almost makes me laugh. 6 months ago, I was rationing freeze-dried meals, and now I'm eating fresh eggs. We're building more than settlements. We're building lives. Real lives with routines and small joys and futures that extend beyond survival. I'm teaching a class on weather prediction, using my lookout experience to help people understand patterns, read the sky, prepare for storms. It's useful knowledge, and it feels good to pass it on, to contribute something only I can give. My blood pressure's stable. My weight's good. Rachel says I'm in better shape than most 60-year-olds were before the outbreak. Clean living, she jokes. Hard work and healthy food, and none of the stress of modern life. I'm not sure I'd call an apocalypse low stress, but I get her point. Tom's leaving next week. Got a radio call from a settlement near Crater Lake asking for help setting up their defense systems. He's going, taking his expertise, planning to be gone 3 months. We'll miss him, but it's the right move. Skills need to be shared. Knowledge needs to spread. Emma's stepping up to fill the security role. She's young but capable. And honestly, the threat level is so low now that security is more about wildlife management than defense against infected. We're transitioning. From survival mode to rebuilding mode to something approaching normal. It'll never be what it was. Too much has changed. Too much was lost. But it's becoming something. Something maybe better in some ways. Simpler. More focused on what matters. Community. Cooperation. Caring for each other. I'm 61 now. Birthday passed without fanfare, didn't even mention it. But I'm 61 and alive and part of something larger than myself. That's a gift. That's more than I expected when Linda died, when the world ended, when I sat in that tower convinced I'd watch humanity's extinction. We survived. We're rebuilding, and I'm here to see it. Thanks for watching, guys. I will be back with another story.